Good evening, everybody. Evening, Megan.
Hi, Ron. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. How's the internet connection looking? Okay.
For now, it's looking okay.
Okay. I'm just quickly finishing up last posting the link. If anybody wants to join, you can do so. The link is in the comments. If you don't see it, just refresh your internet, refresh your browser or your Facebook or whatever, and it should be in the comments section of the video on whatever platform it is that you're watching on. So you can hop on and participate with us either via video or audio only, or you can post a comment, and we'll share the comment, and we can have a conversation. So today, this afternoon, I tried to do a live stream by myself, and it was a disaster. The internet bombed, and it was the first time I went solo live, and my brain seized a little bit. So that was like horrifying, I think, for me and everyone involved. Let me take one off. Yeah, so cool. So we broadcasting on the public channels, Mariab Helper profile, the ARC or the Mariab Facebook page, the Duly Diagnosed YouTube channel, and we're also on the Mariab Cafe private and unsearchable Facebook group. If you're in the Mariab Cafe group, be mindful that we are on the public channels for the first 10 to 20 minutes, and then we'll switch over exclusively to the Mariab Cafe, and you can share or join in with a higher degree of anonymity or confidentiality. So this is a Christian-orientated take or a Christian perspective on the 12 steps. And I want to preface the conversation or the live video, as I do with the secular live stream, that ARC or MyRehab, as it's now known, doesn't advocate any particular religion or lack of religion or any kind of philosophy like that. It's a medically orientated facility, and there are obviously psychologists and other mental health care professionals that do work with patients should they have any specific kind of religion or anything like that, or lack of religion or whatever it is. So this is a support group. So if you feel that you want a support group or you want to have conversations with people orientated in a Christian way, then that's what this is for, and that's what ARC or MyRehab is doing. Is we offering different types of mediums for all individuals that have different takes on how things should happen. So I know you wanted to say something. Last week we did the Celebrate Recovery thing, but I know you wanted to sort of change direction a little bit with that, Megan.
Yeah, so we did go through the Celebrate Recovery last week and what it was, and we were looking into starting a Celebrate Recovery online support group. But what we're going to do is we're not going to do a formal Celebrate Recovery online group. The direction we're going in is just a support group with Christ in the center. A place where we can find support with one another, hearing testimonies of how God has transformed our lives, creating a platform for people who are going through their steps and want to talk about the step work journey and with God in all of that. And so just really a support group with Christ in the center, as opposed to a Celebrate Recovery formal Celebrate Recovery support group. Yeah.
Cool. So, and also for anybody that might be interested in this, even if you're not a Christian, I think I'm not a Christian, and I'm very interested in the perspective, to be honest with you. So I don't know if you wanna share a bit about what your experience or your views on this, Megan.
So personally, Ryan, I am a Christian. I have walked a journey with God for many years. I accepted the Lord as my savior, and uh, and I've been walking a journey with the Lord for many years now. So I am personally a Christian, um, and yeah, I hope does that answer your question?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah,
Mm.
that's cool.
Yeah,
Um, so I know you're also a counselor, and
right.
you've got a degree of I mean, you're obviously very professional and well trained and all the rest of it as well. So, I mean, just before we went live, I was asking you that question.
Mm,
Should so I've engaged with my psychologist who's a Christian,
mhm,
and I've been seeing her since I was about 19 years old, and so that's like 20 years, right? And
mm.
recently, it was in the last year or 18 months that I actually found out that she was somewhat of religious,
Mm.
or she was she called herself a Christian. So that was interesting to me. It was a little bit shocking as well, to be honest, because I never thought, um, you know, so I think atheism is a doctrine of negation. Okay, so it's like there's nothing that we're sort of really that atheists really promote. I suppose agnostics do, but I suppose atheists don't necessarily promote anything in particular, other than sort of like saying, look, we don't believe in the Christian God or in God or in a higher power or whatever the case, right? Which is why I run
Mm.
the secular group. But
Mm.
where was I going with this? There was a very um
Me as
so
a
yeah,
counselor.
as a counselor, yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, so you know, psychologists and counselors, there's a sort of high degree of like scientific sort of um, uh, stuff that goes on behind the scenes. I mean, you got to sort of like it's all backed by science and all the rest of it, right? Um, and that's sort of contrary in some ways to spiritual stuff, if that makes sense. I know it links in with it and all the rest of it, but like in some way. But in general, I think of psychologists or counselors or whatever as generally, strictly speaking, scientists. And that was up until obviously my psychologist disclosed to me that she was a Christian, and so I find that surprising. But I find the high degree of professionalism and the sort of like ethics, because she knew I was a raging atheist, right? But there was never a time at any stage where she showed any kind of like she didn't have anything negative to say about
Mm.
what I believe, and she didn't try and challenge it. She was very 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 professional about it. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, certainly. I'll speak on behalf of myself as a counselor. And so for me, Ryan, the bottom line is that my passion and purpose is to support and journey with individuals or families that are faced with barriers or challenges in their day-to-day living, which may be separating them from their inner peace and joy. And so to journey with these individuals that are navigating through these challenges in order to reach their full potential, um, and to live a life of meaning, purpose, and joy. That is what I'm passionate about.
Mm,
I'm there to help facilitate that journey. I'm not there to impose my beliefs onto anybody. I'm not there to judge anybody's belief. I
mm,
work with a, a wide spectrum and of people who have their own journeys and their own beliefs, and what I'm passionate about within that journey is helping them on their path to self-discovery, towards their inner peace and their purpose.
yeah.
So
Mm,
you know as you were saying, you found out recently that your therapist is a Christian, and that's because um you know like I say, for myself, I'm not there to impose my beliefs onto others. If I
Yeah.
am with the client that is a Christian, then of course we talk about God, we talk about the journey. And if I'm with a client that's not a Christian, we talk about their journey, and we talk about their barriers and their challenges. And I'm just merely there to facilitate that process with them.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
Mm.
So, and Megan, that's why we're doing this aftercare thing, where we sort of offering all these different aspects of sort of ongoing community and
Yeah.
that's why we're offering these different things. So I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. We're not here to impose any of our own personal beliefs, and we're trying to create platforms for people in terms of their own beliefs. So we're trying to sort of like cater for everyone, eh? I think that's
Absolutely.
important because there's no one particular, thing that does work in terms of keeping somebody engaged in a recovery process of recovery. It's I can't sit here and say, hey, the 12 steps are the only way, or I can't do that. It's not I don't feel like that's an ethical thing to do. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so like I always say, everyone's an individual, and there's not one size that fits all. But it is not my place or my authority to dictate what should fit. That's not my purpose, and that's not my role as a counselor. My role is to listen to the person, to listen to where they're at on their journey, to walk with them through that journey, to guide them along the way of that journey, not to tell them what they have to believe in and what they are, what they are doing or what they are believing is wrong
Correct.
for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, since this is a Christian perspective, we're doing a Christian perspective on the 12 steps, right?
I heard you say
Okay.
12 steps. So I'm agreeing because I know that
I'll do
we're
that
talking about the 12 steps.
Yeah.
Because your
I'll do that
signal, your
after
Wi-Fi was like,
So
your internet connection was so dodgy there. So I just heard you say 12 steps.
Is it back?
Yeah.
Is it back? Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We're doing a Christian perspective on the 12 steps, right?
Right.
Okay, cool. So let's get into it. Hey, so since this is a Christian perspective, what can you tell us about the Christian perspective on the 12 steps as a sort of like general overview?
Okay, so yeah, let's touch on what we then discussed last week. So the 12 steps in this context that we're talking about is it's the 12 steps, but using Christ at the center. So not necessarily higher power, but Christ as the center, believing that he's in the center of all these steps. And like we said last week, based on the beatitudes that come in with those 12 steps, and that's how we work through it. And through each step, we can discuss what are we, where are we experiencing God moving in our lives, where are we, sometimes battling to connect, and so you learn as you go through the steps, the Christ-centered steps. You learn more about God, possibly come to deeper revelations through the journey. And I've seen people come through the steps who have been Christians from the beginning, and I've also seen people come through the steps that weren't Christians when they started the steps. So again, it depends on the journey of the individual that's participating in the steps.
Sure. You mentioned the word revelations. What do you mean by that? Like an unfolding or understanding of aspects of
I mean, when someone has the revelation of who Jesus Christ is and what God has done, what Jesus did for us, and how he cleared us of our sins, basically, and coming to realize who Jesus is in our
So
lives, and the power that he's got within our lives.
So that specifically, so Jesus saving everybody for their sins, right? Does that apply specifically to any particular step, or how would you incorporate that in a from a 12-step point of view?
Well, I mean, you were saying the word revelation. So when we come to really realize that God put his son on the cross for us, and when you can fully, accept that and embrace that, you have the revelation of God's love for us. So in that context, that's where I would say is the revelation. But as you're moving through your steps as well, and as you're realizing through these steps and these beatitudes, the beatitudes, the part that God plays in our lives, and the love and the grace that he gives upon us, and the way that he helps us, to reform our lives, is part of what the journey is about.
Yeah. So okay, so that's interesting. So I know from sort of like traditional 12-step, this is what I've heard, and a higher power needs to be, there's three conditions for what a higher power needs to be, right? So number one, it can't be you. So that's the first condition. The second one is that it's got to be, I think the other two has got to be loving and caring. Okay. So, and that's, so for me, and listen, I'm just from my perspective, because I have a obviously different worldview, but I'm not necessarily convinced that a higher power is always loving and caring. If that makes sense. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but it makes sense to me. But I know from a Christian's perspective, obviously Jesus and God are in particular like loving and caring entity, right? Do you wanna maybe just explain a little bit about that?
So I'm going to respond in the way, in trying to understand what I perceive that you're trying to say. And there are people that have been hurt by the churches and by Christians, and all of that. And the thing is, though, that's not being hurt by God. Okay, that's being hurt by people.
No, agreed. Sure.
And also, so then that's been hurt by God. And also, nowhere was it said that the journey with God would be easy. In fact, the journey with God can be very difficult.
Can I just tell you my perspective there quickly? So
absolutely.
I don't want to get my bloody beliefs. I don't want to sort of go down a rabbit hole with you on this, but so my take is that God is how do I explain this? This is a difficult one. So starving Ethiopian children, I believe that God is responsible for that, and I don't. Well, if there was a God, that he would be responsible for that. Okay. Now that's a rabbit hole. That's a rabbit hole that we're don't have to go down. Megan, honestly, I don't like, but I don't want to conflate the word power greater than ourselves with the word higher power, because again, from traditional 12-step sort of philosophy, higher power needs to be loving and caring. Does that make sense? So my idea of a power greater than me is one that sort of like includes all the suffering of the world and all of that, right? I struggle with there being an entity that is loving and caring, and that's personal to me. Does that make sense?
again, like you say, it's a very deep conversation.
Mm.
But again, Ryan, if and I hear it a lot. We hear it a lot. If there was a God, why do these things happen? And it's not God, it's man. But also what I can say here is that if you think about yourself, for example, as a parent, you are loving to your children, you are caring to
Yeah,
your children, but that doesn't mean you don't discipline them. That doesn't mean you don't lead them and guide them on a path which they don't always understand,
okay, that makes sense. Cool.
right?
Yeah,
So, if looking at it from that perspective, sometimes our children can look at us and think, "Oh, why? This is so hard, and this
yeah,
discipline and this structure and all of that," and they don't understand at the time. But you, as the parent, know that what you are doing is out of love and care.
sure. Well, I was sitting with my son earlier this evening at dinner, and he was like, kind of like on his knees, and he was being a bit of a nuisance. And I said, "Hey, sit properly, sit up straight, and behave yourself." And it was weird because in that moment I was like, "Cool, okay, well that, he's not necessarily going to like hearing that, but it's 100% the loving thing for me to be doing because
Right,
you know."
right.
He goes
Yeah.
out and he's with other people, he needs to behave himself, right? So hopefully I'm preparing him for that. Sure. So I get that. That makes a whole lot of sense. That's awesome. Okay. 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 Do you want to continue that?
What's there was
Can you hear that in the background?
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
notifications.
I thought you were making like this revelation like sound effect on your computer.
No,
That's what
no,
I
sorry. No, I can do that. Do I have one of those?
Yeah. No, make it sound more like a
Let's see. Hold on.
harmonious instrumental, like a
Okay, well,
harp.
let's just move on. Like a harp. Okay, cool. Okay, so that makes sense. Okay, so okay, and okay, so yeah, higher power. So in terms of the suffering and all the rest of it, that aside, okay,
Mm,
the personal relationship that you have with your higher power, which is Jesus. Am I right in saying this? Jesus always at.
yeah.
I'm glad. I'm actually glad that I'm asking these questions from somebody, like from the perspective of somebody that actually knows zero about it. I think it could be helpful for people. Well, I hope so.
Ryan, can I just say something?
Yes.
Just on your points earlier, from a Christian perspective, and again, I'm only speaking for myself. There's a lot of different perspectives, but my perspective is that the whole thing about suffering, although we don't want to get too deep into it,
No.
God doesn't bring suffering. God has brought man, and man has got choice. And how the world is being run, and all like the disasters that could be like that are happening in the world. If you really look into that, is that's what man is bringing about. Man brings sin, man brings choice.
I'm
God doesn't bring suffering.
I'm so tempted to argue with you, and that's just, but I'm not
I'm
going to.
sure.
I'm not going
Okay,
to.
thanks.
But yeah. So, but I get your point. I get your point.
Mm,
But I think what I want to understand more, and I'm hoping some of the viewers might want to understand this a bit more, or maybe they do because you might be a Christian watching this, but the personal relationship in particular with a loving and caring entity, I think that's something that is appealing to most people.
mm,
And I think that's what's important about this whole thing. Am I
mm.
correct in saying that, Megan?
Yeah, yeah. Everybody who walks a journey with God, it will be their own very personal journey with God.
Mm.
And again, that's what these groups are about. Share those journeys. Also, share the difficulties. I mean, it says in the Bible that God says, "Come and wrestle with me,"
Mm.
and again, He's open to us looking for the answers, looking for the understanding, and so, these kind of platforms really special and an opportunity to discuss our individual journeys with one another.
Yeah. No, sure.
Mm.
Okay, so I hope that was interesting for everybody on the public channels. The time's up on those channels, and we're going to switch over to the MyRehab Cafe group and continue there. So bear with me for a minute. Okay, so I'm going to play a quick 2-minute video and then switch over. Cool. I'll see you on the other side, Megan. Thank you to everyone on the public channel. Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, and just one more thing. If you guys have any comments about this, you can comment on it if you're watching this as a recorded video. And we'll happily, next week, Friday, we're doing this again, and we'll happily sort of answer those questions or consider them. So thank you, guys. Cheers, eh? Cool.
What's up, guys? MyRehab Helper here. I want to tell you about a refreshing approach to a process of self-discovery for anyone that's just left a rehab program for substance abuse issues, or for anyone wanting to engage with a community of others on a journey of self-discovery. The MyRehab Cafe initiative is a thriving community focused on sobriety. You'll find that this group is thriving and full of conversations and discussion on what is working for those who are staying sober. Some members have used 12-step programs and others have never stepped foot into a meeting, but they all have one thing in common. They are serious about quitting drinking and leading a better life. New members often express how friendly, open, and welcoming the community feels, even more than they expected. We achieve this by fostering a community built on trust and fairness, with policies in place and enforce a no jerks allowed policy. We will make a point of getting you plugged in and connected with the community, and all this with the understanding that you want to be here and the expectation that you will put in the effort and participate in the group. Members gain access to recovery resources like worksheets, online lectures, online Q&A sessions, online discussion forums, online workshops, linking with an accountability partner and the MyRehab podcast. In MyRehab Cafe, you'll get advice and tips from members who have been sober for years, from those who have been where you are. They have a tremendous amount of experience to share, but so do you. We have chosen to grow this group slowly, paying attention to who may be a good fit and who may not be. This group may not be for everyone, and that's okay. Those who realize it's not about what you get from the community, but what you can give, are the ones who we see being the most successful. Those who ask questions, share with others, attend webinars, and get out of their comfort zones are the ones who benefit the most from this private online community. Thanks for listening, guys. MyRehab Helper over and out.